What's up, Cowboys fam? It's your boy Jay Tuck, Cowboys Up. I appreciate everyone joining into the Cowboys fans only show. So go ahead, comment, like, subscribe, somewhere down there, somewhere down there, somewhere down there. But Cowboys fam, we got a big game tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving Day. We play our rivals, the Washington football team. So I had to bring in some of my big dogs, man, to get prepared for this game. So with further ado, Cowboys Nation, I'd like to welcome my guys, Law Nation and Ryan Cox. What's going on?
What's up?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, I got my guys with me. So, we've been speaking about doing this for quite some time, so I appreciate you guys for jumping on. But before we dive into tomorrow's matchup, I want to talk about this past Sunday. How are you guys feeling about that win versus the Minnesota Vikings?
Man, I feel wonderful about it, man, because we showcased that we can belong in the NFL, and we exhibit that against the quote unquote. It started, I think, against the Eagles, although we didn't win that game, and then we got a little bit more out of it against the Steelers, and then now everything is really coming together.
Yeah, Ryan, how you feeling, man?
Yeah, man, that defense it's improved. It's not great, but it's not one of the worst in NFL history either. And I was a little worried with Diggs out for potentially the rest of the year that secondary was going to completely fall apart, and they kind of did. But we still made some plays. I mean, guys like Donovan Wilson stepping up. I'm feeling okay.
Yeah, Donovan Wilson played big, and I also like the defensive line. I like their approach from DeMarcus Lawrence. We saw him stand up a few times. He's looking a lot more comfortable in this Mike Nolan scheme. So I think this defense can kind of get their footing, man, and they can actually make a push. Leighton Vander Esch is looking great since his return. Also, Neville Gallimore, the young kid, he's actually playing pretty solid up there up front. So if the defense can kind of just maintain what we saw right now, build off that momentum, I think the sky's the limit. And then hats off to Andy Dalton. I personally wasn't a fan of starting Andy Dalton, but Mike McCarthy, I was wrong. Andy Dalton showed flashes, though, back of his prime days in Cincinnati. And then also kudos to Mike McCarthy making the move at offensive tackle. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on that move of moving Zach Martin to right tackle. What do you think took so long before Mike McCarthy and the staff to make that move?
1 second, man. That's all we need, right? Just
Right.
with the offensive line, that 1 second or a tenth of a second, maybe, just maybe, we even beat the Philadelphia Eagles, maybe still don't give up those amount of pressures on the edge there. So there's so many things that we can look at. It. Offensive line is important. I mentioned before that even the center position is one of the hardest positions to learn in the National Football League, and even trying to fix that thing out. And of course, Joe Looney did a great job against the previous team. But I would look at it like, yes, finally they made the adjustments, and now we can see a little bit good plays out of Andy Dalton. He still scared us. Double pumping, cocking the ball back, and doing all of those crazy things. But I'm gonna let Ryan speak on some other things. But I'm just saying, I'm happy, but I'm always still looking at it like,
Exactly.
Go ahead, Ryan. Yeah.
My thing is, man, what was it 4 weeks ago when we played Washington and Terrence Steele on that right side was getting killed like he does every week. And why weren't we thinking this then? I remember, was it Stephen Jones or Jerry Jones coming out and said that it's like a fantasy fans have to want to move Zach Martin to right tackle, but in real life, you don't do those sort of things. So it seems like they kind of changed their tune on that. Obviously, it's worked to our advantage. I think Connor McGovern has even looked pretty good at right guard. So I don't know if that could be a long-term potential move for Zach Martin, but it's something we definitely got to think about if McGovern continues to perform. But I do worry a little bit about Andy Dalton because, like you said, sometimes he scares you. He had one interception last week, but he could have easily had, 3 or 4. So I kind of miss Garrett Gilbert against the Steelers, but Dalton did get the job done. So to his credit, we can't be too harsh on him.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll say about Andy Dalton, he did have that veteran leadership out there, and he had the confidence to make those throws when it counted. And so I feel like if we did have Garrett Gilbert versus the Vikings, he might have hesitated a few times, maybe missed the mark on a few of those throws. So that's definitely something that Andy Dalton brings to the table. And we got to think, guys, Andy Dalton got, about $1 million on the line to get to the playoffs and win some of these games. So maybe there's some hidden motivation behind that. So I had a strong conversation in a video that I just dropped yesterday. So I want to get your guys' take on this. A lot of Cowboys fans are pretty much upset because this is kind of ruining their draft stock right now. They're pretty much team tank versus team win the division and continue to fight. It's kind of like a civil war going on amongst Cowboys Nation. I pretty much know where you guys stand, but let me just double check. So, Log, where do you stand as far as this team tank versus continue to fight throughout the season?
I continue to fight regardless of the circumstances. Just like I'm in my house right now. If a guy busts through the door 7'3" and 6'7", however big they are, we're gonna have to fight. I'm not
Right,
gonna just sit here and wait for the authorities to come.
right.
We're gonna fight it out, and I'm gonna try to win regardless of the situation. And that's what the Cowboys are looking at this thing as. Hey, we're gonna have to fight. And on top of that, everybody got their resumes out there now.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. So they plan for contracts, they plan for winning, they plan for it to say, hey, Pookie, Ray, Mama, and them. Y'all see me on TV. I just scored a touchdown. Don't you think CeeDee Lamb was happy this past weekend?
Right, right, right. Ryan, where you stand, my man?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things. I think I was saying it earlier in the season before we all kind of jumped ship because we started getting really, really bad. But I was saying you don't have to be great the whole season. You got to be great at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as we get good heading towards those playoffs and we get into playoffs, then there's always a chance.
Yeah, and I think if you revert back to also the Cardinals game and also the Washington game, this team didn't show any fight. They didn't show any signs of life. And I think it was really that Philadelphia game. And going back then, I was extremely confident because I felt like that rivalry could kind of spark something. If anything can do it. And you also got to think about, we were called out versus that Washington game for being soft, not standing up for Andy Dalton after he got hurt. So hopefully that was going to light a flame. And a lot of people don't agree in the whole concept of moral victories, but when you're at an all-time low as far as morality, you need something to kind of to bridge off of. And I feel like that Eagles game was kind of the start of it, and it led to what we saw this past Sunday versus the Vikings. Now, the Cowboys had some downside as far as news concerned going with the strength and conditioning coach, Coach Paul. So I'm going to kind of get your guys' thoughts on that. What do you think that's going to do as far as the morality amongst the team, especially since we didn't practice on Tuesday?
Well, the thing is with Coach, every one of those players are in communications with him. He's the strength and conditioning coach, so they know him, and all we can do is put our prayers together. Hopefully, his family and everyone else can just survive and live through this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be so way down and weighted with depressions and things like that. And I think that the Cowboys will rally, and I think that they will play inspired, even in the situation as hesitant as it is for me to even talk about this. I just think that right now, this moment, that everybody will be looking at it like, hey, Paul, we got you in our hearts and minds, and we'll be playing for you.
Right. Ryan?
Yeah, it's one of those things I can't speculate how each player is going to take it personally. Obviously, it's going to be tough for everybody. Like Law said, we got to keep him and his family in our thoughts and prayers. But outside of that, who knows how a short week is going to affect us on the field. We saw having a lot the extra week with the bye week, it kind of helped us. It gave us more preparation. So it will be interesting to see with the short week plus the extra missed practice, whether or not we needed those extra days or not.
Yeah, and absolutely, like we said, prayers for Coach Paul and his family. Hopefully, Coach continue to fight and pull through. Because if you play the game of football, your strength and conditioning coach, you spend a lot of time with that guy in the off-season, training camp. Like, they're the guys that are always around you. And so I'm sure the Dallas Cowboys and this team is really connected with Coach, so hopefully Coach will pull through. So let's get on to Thanksgiving. All right, Thanksgiving matchup. And we had some bad Thanksgiving days as far as a Cowboys fan. I think back to the Romo what's that versus the Carolina Panthers, the interception game. I was there with the RG3 game. So, and last year versus the Bills, Cole Beasley saucing us up. So, tomorrow versus the Washington football team, can the Dallas Cowboys finally get back on track and continue this streak and get a win versus the Washington team? What's your guys' thoughts?
Well, a win is a win is a win, and I want the Dallas Cowboys to show up and show out. I go all the way back. Remember those color rush jerseys that they used to wear? They allowed them put the white helmets on,
Yeah.
And that was the last time I saw my dog Dez Bryant when he scored that long pass. Well, it was a long play. I don't know what it was, an end around or something like that on the Washington team. Do you recall that?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about. And
you know, and
they
it was
had
against
the
Hall,
yeah,
right?
and they had the
They
blue
had them
jerseys
different.
on with the white stars. Those are my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah. I can just only imagine if CeeDee Lamb can do something similar. And I think that he's on pace to doing something like that. He's leading the all-time leading rookie wide receivers and receptions right now. So I think that they're going to play motivated and hungry. They got a revenge factor to play with too. Just like when I heard LVE, I got super crunk and pumped up when LVE said, "Hey, I got a chip on my shoulder from last year when we lost to the Vikings.
Right.
So I know that these players personally want to win. So I'm looking at this game come Turkey Day. I think that the Cowboys will still show up, and I can't wait to see this game. I can't wait, man. I'm fired up already.
Ryan, you fired up, my guy?
Oh yeah, it's going to be a dogfight, man. And this is one of my favorite, it may be my favorite rivalry in football. As a Cowboys fan, comes back to my first memory as a Cowboys fan. I was a little kid. It was the Hail Mary, the catch, Troy Aikman to Rocket Ismail. That was one of our last years with Aikman. And I remember I had to go to bed early because I had school the next day. And I woke up the next day. I saw it on the paper that he made the catch on the Hail Mary, scored the touchdown, and we won the game. So it's always exciting when you have divisional implications with these two teams. I don't remember the last time that's happened. Maybe the RG3 days with Romo. But yeah, I don't even know if I would want to predict a winner, but it's going to be an exciting game, and I think it's going to be a fight.
Yeah, and I think this is, like you said, Law, I think it's going to be a gut check game because I think a lot of these players remember what happened in the past when we played Washington. Like I said, this was the game where we were called out. Their manhood was in question. So I feel like this team will come out prepared to play even more than what we saw versus the Vikings. And if you go back and watch the Vikings game, there was a different tenacity about this team. I don't know where it came from. Maybe it was the smashing the watermelons. I know Shannon Sharp kind of had some issues with smashing watermelons, but if that's what we get as far as the end result, go ahead and smash them. I'll bring you a whole watermelon patch if that's what it takes to get it. But I feel like this team played with a different chip on their shoulder, and hopefully we'll see that on Thursday. Now, we talked about the shifts in the O-line. We all know that Washington's defensive front, they're talented, and they gave us hell that first game. So do you think that this offensive line can take the momentum from the Vikings game into Washington?
Yes, indeed. And here's why. Connor McGovern, he stood up and he stepped up in that first game. He had the meeting with the Washington team. And he gave up 0 sacks, 0 pressure. So I'm thinking that now he's even more amped up and pumped up and say, hey, yeah, keep Zach Martin at the tackle, keep me right where I'm at right now, and let's continue to make something consistent. Remember, that's what football is all about: continuity and report. Let's not keep moving pieces around. Let's roll out that same package. And now the quarterback can look at it and say, I think it was, I want to say, what's this guy from Canada? Is it Dre? What's his name? Help me out. The rapper.
Oh, Drake.
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 Yeah,
Drake.
Drake. Did he say in the song "Looking for Revenge"?
Yeah.
So this is what we gonna be looking for revenge.
Right. Okay. I hope
my album coming out late, baby.
Hey, Law Nation, get that mixtape.
Drake.
Drake. So Ryan, you think this offensive line can hold up against this defensive front for Washington?
Well, that defensive front is so good that they're definitely going to come out firing. They're going to get some pressure. And what you do is you line up Connor McGovern, a right guard, Zach Martin, a right tackle, maybe get Dalton Schultz or Blake Bell on that other side on the right, and you run the ball and you run Zeke behind those guys. And as soon as we can establish that run, then all of a sudden they're not going to be getting pressure every play to Andy Dalton. So, yeah, I definitely think the formula is there to slow down the pressure.
Yeah, and
Can I say one more thing
ahead, Law.
on this?
Go ahead.
Schultz and Blake Bell. I love the way they come down and block, downhill block. Those guys, man, just look up their blocking technique. They're doing a hell of a job. Good job this year. But go ahead.
And here's the thing with that, Law. People forget we still got Blake Jarwin coming back next year. So the experience that Blake Bell, and I was personally a Blake Bell fan because I watched the kid since he was in high school. He came up in the hometown. He was a quarterback. Then he went to OU, which I was saying maybe we should have gave him a few looks at quarterback. But Blake Bell, he's just one of those solid guys who's going to do his job. Dalton Schultz has played great in the absence of Blake Jarwin being out. So I'm really excited about this tight end core, especially the future of it, because you add Blake Jarwin to this mix, that's a tandem right there. So they definitely have played well. Now, I will say
I'm
this.
sorry, I did say Blake Jarwin. I meant to
No,
say Dalton Schultz.
oh yeah, well, all three of them, all three of them. Once they get
Right.
back, I mean, they'll be solid. But I will
Yeah.
say this, and I want to ask you guys this: we saw a glimpse of the run game. Zeke finally got his first game over 100 yards. We finally seen Tony Pollard get his pop, and he still has that burst to make those big plays. Do you think that Mike McCarthy will commit to the run game moving forward throughout the season, or was this kind of just one of the flash and pan type things?
I hope not, because we've seen this before. Tony Pollard, when he played against the Miami last year, and I know it was the Miami Dolphins,
Mm-hmm.
but what we want to see, and this may not be a traditional split back, but I would want for them to at least consider, just consider 7 to maybe 8 to 9 touches for
Mm-hmm.
Tony Pollard. Just go ahead and draw up those plays. Make sure you insert that into the playbook, but do not, I'm going to repeat, do not only give this brother 2 attempts. Do not only give this brother 3 attempts and 4.
Right.
Give that guy north of 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 so that it can complement Ezekiel Elliott, because he's still, the way they got this offense designed is Ezekiel Elliott still the bell cow. He's still, when he's on the field, they have the extra man inside the box. They always spying, they flowing towards his way. So keep the man on the field, but also give Tony Pollard some touches.
Yeah, Ryan, what's your thoughts on the run game?
I mean, Law's spot on that. I mean, you got to give Zeke his 20, 25 touches, but you still can get, 8 to 10 for Tony Pollard, and just mix them in between, because like I've been saying all along, Zeke is that thunder, and Tony Pollard brings the lightning. He just brings a different factor to the game. He's never going to be a workhorse like Zeke, but he's quick, he's athletic, he's explosive. And like last week with a home run play against the Vikings, I mean, that was a 40-yard touchdown.
Right.
So I think you definitely got to use both of them.
And one of the surprising plays from the past Sunday's game versus the Vikings is that we actually used Zeke in the passing game and flexed him out wide. And I said, "Oh my God, what are we doing here?" But that's something that not only Zeke can bring to the table, but also Tony Pollard, because he was dynamic in doing that in Memphis. Now let's rotate over to the defensive side of the ball. Now we know the Washington's football's offense isn't that great as of right now. They'll probably have Alex Smith starting at quarterback. They have Gibson, and they also have Scary Terry at wide receiver. But what can the Dallas defense do to make sure that we're not giving up these big plays that we're constantly seeing, and how can we get pressure on Alex Smith?
Hey, it's going to have to be a D Laws type of game, an Alden Smith type of game. It also have to be a Randy Gregory type of game.
Let me
Those
ask you that
guys.
about Randy Gregory. So it
Mhm.
seemed like Dorrance Armstrong is getting primarily a few more snaps than Randy Gregory. Do we think that maybe Randy Gregory is sick possibly, or something was going on with him? Or do you kind of think that's going to be the trend moving forward? Because Jerry Jones, he believes strongly in Dorrance Armstrong for some reason. And so, I mean, it seems like Dorrance might be here to stay, but do you think that we'll see a lot more Randy Gregory moving forward, or?
Well, I just hope that will be the angle of them just trying to sell the stock of Dorrance Armstrong, trying to pump him up a little bit,
Okay.
saying that he's lights out. So maybe, just maybe, he can get some higher trade situation or get something from him in return.
Makes sense.
Nevertheless, I just think that Randy Gregory, he probably just now, you know how you came back into the league and everything is kind of like your muscles getting sore and everything, and you got the only
Mhm.
way you can get right if you just relax and chill for a minute.
Right.
So hopefully that's a scenario. But if so, it's up to Alden Smith and go on back to D Law, and hopefully you sprinkle in Dorrance Armstrong to help out on the situation.
Yeah, Ryan, what's your thoughts as far as the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, no, I'll say one thing. Alex Smith, in the prime of his career, he could use his legs and athleticism to run, but he is a little long in the tooth, and he's got old legs now. So I mean, I definitely think that we need to be sending some pressure. And it's not just the guys up front. I've seen us blitz Donovan Wilson some and have some
Mhm.
success. I believe that resulted in a sack fumble with him and DeMarcus Lawrence on
Right.
Sunday. And other guys too. Jalen Smith, you got to find ways to use him because coverage isn't it. But yeah, I like what I'm seeing with that defensive line right now. DeMarcus Lawrence is obviously getting better week in, week out. And I've actually liked what I've seen from Randy Gregory. He looks pretty fast to the ball. So
Yeah, the defensive front looks solid. Like I said, Neville Gallimore as well. And I think also getting Leighton Vander Esch back at the middle linebacker position has been critical for this defense. Now, secondary is still, a huge question mark. It remains to be seen. I think there's a lot of things we need to clean up on from that aspect. But you did mention Donovan Wilson did play lights out. So Alex Smith is always known as kind of a game manager, and we have to really get him out of rhythm because if he's able to just kind of sit back, be unbothered, and control the game, that's when he's at his best. But if we can get to him, get him pressure, get him rattled, get to him early, I feel like the Dallas Cowboys' defense can have a great chance of stopping this Washington offense. So, prediction time, fellas, prediction time. What is your thoughts on Thanksgiving Day? Are we going to be able to celebrate with our family, kick back, enjoy our meal, relax, and have a good day and celebrate a Cowboys win? Or will we be tensed up, want to lay downstairs, not bothered by the family, kind of hide and ducked off? How do you guys, what's your thoughts?
I always eat before the game, regardless. I always eat. Not gonna take my joy from me, especially that pecan pie, sweet potato pie. I'm eating all of that stuff, even dessert before the kickoff. So
Right.
I still think that we can win. I know I sound like, hey, Law, you said we were gonna win last week, and you're saying it again this week. Well, we're gonna win again this
Let's
week.
go. Let's
I'm
go.
going with the same score prediction: 28 Cowboys, and maybe just maybe the Washington team will score only 16 to maybe 21, 28 to 16 or 21. Cowboys.
Ryan?
oh man, it's definitely gonna get me worked up, man. My blood pressure gets high. I get headaches after these kind of games, and it's gonna be one of those games. I can tell win or lose. I do predict us to win, and I don't think it's gonna be a too high scoring of a game. I think maybe 24-21 Cowboys.
Yeah, Thursday is going to be a stressful day for me as a sports fan because I'm a huge college basketball fan, and my Kansas Jayhawks kick off against the number one team in the country, Gonzaga, right before the Cowboys game. So I'm going back to back on Thursday. So I'm going to be on edge, but I feel like the Dallas Cowboys can win this game and should win this game. So I have the Dallas Cowboys winning 24-17. Like I said, it's really about protecting the ball, committing to the run, doing everything that we just did on Sunday, and just taking that and going and playing against Washington and keeping that same blueprint, because I think we did great. As long as Andy Dalton doesn't try to be a hero, turn over the ball, offensive line can protect him, I feel like the Dallas Cowboys can get out with the win. So I'm predicting, Cowboys fans, once again, a Dallas Cowboys win, man. So I appreciate you guys for coming on. But before we go, Law, go ahead. I mean, you guys know where to find Law, but just go ahead for the people who've seen you for the first time, they've been under a rock. Where can they find you at?
Fan to Fan Network. That's where you can find all of us. You know, Fan to Fan Network, hit us up there. And as well as LAWS Nation at lawnations.net. You know, that's another place you can find me. Law Nations, as well as YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, MySpace, Black Planet. I'm everywhere, baby. Look me up. Law Nation, LAW Nation. Salute.
And Ryan, where can they find you?
Yeah, so it's Fratagonia on YouTube, it's Fratagonia on Instagram, and it's Real Fratagonia on Twitter.
Yeah, and you guys can find them, like I said, we're all three of us are on the Fan to Fan Network. We do the Sunday morning show, except they pieced out on me against the Steelers, but I held my own good chisel, man. I held my own good chisel. But definitely check us out on the Fan to Fan Network. And also you can follow me on Cowboys Fans Only on YouTube. Also follow me on Twitter at jtuck151 and go to cowboysfansonly.com to get your CFO gear, man. So I'm hyped. I'm excited for the matchup on Thanksgiving Day. I feel like the Dallas Cowboys can come out with a victory. Let's keep this train rolling. Team Tank, I apologize, but this just ain't the year for all that, man. So Cowboys fam, I definitely want to say everyone have a safe and blessed Thanksgiving. Make sure y'all being smart. Enjoy time with your family. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay encouraged. Let's go Cowboys. Peace out.
Peace.